Hey friends, it's Rosalind. Welcome back to our gardens and our tiny farm. Today we are going to be looking at the winter sown seeds and see how they're germinating. We started some of these jugs, I think it was like end of January and early February, so I wanted to give you all an update on how they're doing. But first, before we look at them, we're going to go inside and plant some basil since it is March, using this very same method, because I noticed over the past couple of years that when I plant basil and I let it go to seed, those seeds fall into the soil and they lay in the frozen soil all winter long and they will sprout in spring. So I thought, if it does that in nature, we can totally mimic that and plant them the same way, just using the winter sowing method. And there's also a couple of other things. Over the past week, it has been so beautiful. Just last week, we planted out a lot of the pre-sprouted ranunculus. But like today it's 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and by tomorrow night it's going to dip below freezing. So sometimes with such a weather change, it can mean a risk of severe weather. So hopefully we won't have any of that. But I wanted to share what we are going to be doing to protect the ranunculus that are already planted out, because next week, early next week, it's going to be very cold. Like it's supposed to go down to 14 degrees Fahrenheit. And I knew there was a risk of this when we planted out those ranunculus last week. But normally in middle of March, we don't have such cold temperatures, but it has been such a long, cold and snowy winter. And I guess winter just wants to give one last hurrah. So we are going to be protecting the ranunculus. We also got new baby ducklings. They are so sweet. So I wanted to share that with you. And then we are going to go out into the greenhouse and I wanted to share some of the dahlias that we're going to be growing together this season. But first, let's go get that basil planted. Can you hear the baby ducks? We keep them in the garage for right now until they're bigger and it's warmer, so we can put them out in the coop. But they are quacking away right now. So this is the basil seeds that we are going to be planting. It's called cardinal basil. These are from Eden Brothers. And it says to get these started 7 weeks before the last frost date. We are at 8 weeks, but since we are going to be growing it outside in winter sown jugs, we're going to start it a little bit earlier because it's going to take a little bit longer to germinate since it'll be out in the cold. But I have my drain holes in the bottom, cut it open right here in the center, and we are just going to use an organic all-purpose potting mix for this, since this is an herb that we will both be using in our foods as well as in cut flower arrangements. All right, we have our basil planted. I'm so excited to grow this variety. I've never grown basil with like that red plumage. It'll be exciting to watch this one grow, and I'll keep you updated on how it's doing. But let's go set it outside with the other jugs and check on the winter sown seedlings. At this point, pretty much all of the jugs have started germinating their seeds that are planted inside. There's a couple that haven't yet, but let's take a peek. Let's start with these that are planted in here, and then we'll work our way over, check everything out. Do you remember when we planted the straw flower? They have all started germinating. Do you see those tiny seedlings? And this is marshmallow, an herb that I just planted into a lettuce container. And look at the marshmallow. Isn't that so exciting? So the package did say that it needs at least 8 weeks of chilling time, and I don't know, it probably had like 4 weeks of chill time. This one is stock and campanula. Both of those have started germinating. The basil that we just planted, this one is Iceland poppies. That's the only one that hasn't started germinating yet, but I did plant it a lot later than these three. This is Shirley poppies. Do you see all of that germination? There's strawberries planted in this one and snapdragons in this one. Do you remember when we planted the pansies? Look at them. They're looking so good. But the sweet peas, oh my goodness, this is so fun. They just started germinating last week. Look at that. The hyacinth sweet peas, Spencer Ripple Formula Mix, they're all germinating. This whole row is sweet peas and they're all germinating. The ivory snapdragons I planted a little bit earlier than these, and they have just, like, I think it was yesterday that they just started germinating, so they're very tiny. There's not a whole lot of growth on them, but the stock is doing absolutely amazing. Look at that. We have iron pastel mix, and then we also have vintage brown. These are germinating a little bit more sparsely than the iron pastel. The double sweet williams have also started germinating, looking so good. And the agrostemma, blossom pearl, these are so pretty. Those have just started germinating as well. Now next week when it goes down to 14 degrees, and I think one night it's like 19 degrees that it's supposed to be, I'm going to move at least the sweet peas and the straw flowers out into the greenhouse. And from past experience, they will be fine if the soil freezes, but I know during that week of very cold, they won't be actively growing, and I want them to continue growing so we have nice tall plants to plant out. So I'm just going to pop all of those out into the greenhouse until we have more spring-like temperatures. Okay, let's go take a peek at the baby ducklings. Come on, come on. Oh, come on. Hi. So we did get two different varieties of ducks. We have four of the blue runner ducks. Aren't they so sweet? They are more like gray or brown in color, and we aren't sure what this variety is. The employee that helped us at Tractor Supply with the baby ducks, he wasn't sure if these are white runner ducks or if they're the harlequin. I have to pop the name up on the screen. But either way, it's fine with us because they're both very beautiful ducks. But we want them to, kind of want to train them to follow us around. So hopefully we're able to do that. And I feel the baby ducks pecking my boots right now. Hi, hi. We've been keeping the baby ducklings in, it's actually a dog kennel, but we just put sawdust in the bottom with their food and their water, and then we have a heating lamp over top of them so they stay warm, because out in the chicken coop they would just get too cold. So once they're a little bit bigger, we'll be moving them out into the coop with the rest of the chickens and ducks. Also, a little update on some of the things in the greenhouse before we sit down to talk about the dahlias that we're going to be growing together this season. This is some of the hyacinths that we planted into containers back in November, and I've moved them out into the greenhouse. This one I moved out about 2 weeks ago, and look at how much it's grown. They were about this tall. We have the cup and saucer vine growing in here. They haven't germinated yet. And then we have the purple bellvine in here. But do you remember the blue sea holly root? Oh, look at this. Those roots have started growing leaves, which is very exciting. And then if we turn this way, I have my frost cloth sitting in this corner to pop out on top of the ranunculus whenever we need it. But yesterday I planted some lavaterra in here. It's something new that we're going to be growing this season. So this will also be very fun to grow together, to grow as cut flowers. We're going to be planting it over here in this new border that we designed just last fall. I have my list of dahlias and lilies that we're going to be growing together this season. I love hearing what you guys grow. So if you have something different and new that you're growing this year, please drop it in the comments. I get very excited about what everybody is growing. So I thought I would share some of the varieties that we're growing in case you want to add some of these into your garden. So peaches and cream dahlia is one that I have grown for a couple years already, but it's one that I feel like, I don't know, as the weather starts cooling closer to fall, it just gets the prettiest color. And some new ones that we grew last year, and we're going to be growing it again this season, is Molly Raven and Pink Pearl. Pink Pearl is a big ball dahlia, and Molly Raven is more of a decorative dahlia. Even though dahlias don't have the longest vase life, these are both very pretty in cut flower arrangements, as well as the peaches and cream. But something new that we're growing this year is Copper Boy, which is also a ball dahlia. I'm getting this one from Eden Brothers. And I don't know, I just thought this one would be very pretty in fall cut flower arrangements. And another new one is Rhubarb and Custard Dahlia. This is more of a, do you call it single petaled dahlia? I'm not sure what you call this variety, but the color is just everything on these. So I want to grow those in the same border that we are going to be growing the lavaterra. I have 5 tubers of the rhubarb and custard dahlia ordered, so that should be very pretty in that border. Some of the new lilies. I've been trying to collect lily varieties over the past couple years. I like adding just a few new varieties each year. And some new ones that we're going to be growing this year is, this one is from Cavan. I'm never sure how to pronounce the last name of this company, but this one is called Beverly Dreams Giant Hybrid. It's an oriental trumpet lily. It says it's excellent for cutting. It grows 4 to 8 feet tall, so I do want to grow it behind the white picket fence that borders the cut flower garden. I think that would be very pretty, just having it peek out behind the picket fence. Last summer, I did plant the first trumpet lily ever in our gardens. It didn't bloom because it was late in the season. It grew foliage. So this year we will be getting to see the Regale trumpet lily and the Beverly Dreams trumpet lily grow in the gardens together. Another new one is it Zeta or Zeta rose lily? This one, oh, is so pretty, and like the flower it's supposed to look like something between a rose and a lily. It's pollenless and it's lightly fragrant. Well, friends, thank you for joining me around the gardens today. I hope you're able to get out into your gardens and hopefully you're experiencing a little bit of spring weather. Have an amazing week, and I will see you right back here real soon. Bye.